The news rippled through the Martian settlement like a dust storm. People gathered around screens to watch the breaking story. Hannah Kim, the most successful human real estate developer in the solar system, stood accused of intellectual theft. Her face was on every screen. Hannah had worked 15 years to reach this moment. New Olympus was to be her masterpiece, the first self-sustaining colony on Mars with room for 10,000 residents. The grand opening was scheduled for next week. Now everything hung in the balance. Her accuser was Park of the Arcturian species. The tall, blue-skinned alien was considered the foremost architectural genius in 3 star systems. His designs graced the capital worlds of 6 different species. The structural elements of New Olympus are clearly derived from my harmonic dwelling concepts, Dag declared before the Interplanetary Commerce Commission. His voice resonated with authority as his 4 eyes narrowed at Hannah. These designs were never released to the public domain. The ICC members shifted uncomfortably. Accusations between humans and aliens were always delicate matters, especially when the accuser belonged to a species that controlled access to vital technology. Hannah maintained perfect composure as cameras captured her reaction. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her business suit crisp despite the Martian heat. My work draws on ancient Korean Hanok principles adapted for Martian gravity, she stated calmly. Any similarities are coincidental or arise from universal architectural truths. Governor Minho watched from the side of the chamber, his face pale. The Arcturians controlled access to crucial terraforming technology that Mars desperately needed. If relations soured over this incident, decades of progress could be undone. Humans had worked too hard establishing their place among the stars to let one dispute ruin everything. We will need time to investigate these claims, announced the ICC chairperson. The opening of New Olympus will be delayed pending our findings. Reporters swarmed Hannah as she left the chamber. She answered their questions with practiced ease, but inside she felt a growing anger. She had not stolen anything. Her designs were her own. Later that evening in her private quarters, Hannah reviewed her original sketches with her assistant, Ta Li. The young man had been with her since she first proposed the Mars project. They're going to delay the ribbon-cutting ceremony, she said, staring out at the gleaming domes of New Olympus catching the setting sun. The massive structures shimmered in the fading light, beautiful and empty. We have 2 weeks to prove these designs are original. Tai spread the sketches across her desk. But they are original. You created these 3 years ago. Da claims he designed similar concepts 5 years ago. Hannah pointed to the central support structure. He says this exact arrangement was in his harmonic dwelling project. That's impossible, Tai insisted. You developed this based on the old buildings from Seoul. Hannah nodded, remembering her grandmother's home with its elegant wooden beams and perfect balance. She had studied traditional Korean architecture for years before adapting those principles to Martian conditions. Da is powerful, she said quietly. The Arcturians rarely lose in human courts. A soft chime interrupted them. The door slid open to reveal Subin, Hannah's chief engineer. The older woman looked worried. The workers are asking questions, Subin reported. Many are packing to leave Mars. They fear the project will be canceled. Hannah felt a flash of panic. If her team scattered, rebuilding would be almost impossible. Tell them their contracts will be honored, she said firmly. Double pay for anyone who stays through this investigation. After Subin left, Hannah turned back to the window. The Martian sunset painted the colony in shades of orange and red. There's something we're missing, she murmured. Dai wouldn't make this accusation without being sure he could win. Tai looked thoughtful. What if he saw your design somehow? Could there have been a security breach? Hannah shook her head. I designed everything on paper first. Old-fashioned, but safer. Then how could your designs match his older ones? Ta wondered. A strange thought struck Hannah. What if they don't? What if he's lying about his original designs? That would be easy to disprove, Ta pointed out. Unless, Hannah's eyes widened. Unless no one has actually seen his original designs, Arcturians are secretive about their creative process. She turned to her computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. We need to find any public images of Des harmonic dwelling projects from 5 years ago, if they don't match what he's claiming now. Ty leaned forward. That would mean he copied you. Or worse, Hannah said, her voice hardening. He's trying to stop New Olympus from opening at all. The search results began to appear on screen. Hannah and Ty exchanged a look of growing hope. Perhaps they could turn this accusation around after all. 3 days after the accusation, the Interplanetary Design Council arrived on Mars. Their ships landed with a formal display of flags and official seals. The investigation had begun. Ji-hun Park led the team. He was known across the galaxy for his fairness and attention to detail. Nothing escaped his notice. If anyone could uncover the truth, it was Ji-hun. Hannah greeted the investigators at the landing pad. The dust swirled around their feet as they shook hands. We will need complete access to all your records, Ji-hun said. His voice was calm and professional. All designs, all communications, all building plans. Of course, Hannah replied. My team has prepared everything for you. Over the next week, the investigators took over an entire floor of the colony's administrative building. They interviewed every architect, engineer, and construction worker involved with New Olympus. They examined every blueprint, every sketch, every note. Ji-hun was thorough. He questioned Hannah for 10 hours straight on the second day. She explained her design process in exhaustive detail, showing how she had adapted traditional Korean architectural principles to work with Martian gravity and atmosphere. These support structures, Ji-hun pointed to a specific section of the blueprints. They're unusual. They're based on techniques used in Hanok buildings, Hannah explained. The wooden joints that allow buildings to flex during earthquakes. I adapted the concept for Mars. Ji-hun nodded and made notes. His face revealed nothing. Meanwhile, Dodd Park had provided his own designs to the council. Advanced computer systems compared the two architectural styles, looking for patterns that might prove copying had occurred. After a week of investigation, Ji-hun called a preliminary hearing. The colony's main meeting hall was packed with officials, reporters, and concerned citizens. The similarity coefficient is troubling, Ji-hun admitted, displaying holographic models of both designs side by side. Certain load-bearing innovations appear identical to Daz's conceptual work from 3 years ago. Murmurs filled the room. Hannah felt her stomach tighten. How could this be possible? She had never seen Daz's designs before creating her own. The statistical likelihood of identical solutions developing independently is extremely low, Ji-hun continued. Our analysis suggests a 93% probability that one design influenced the other. Day Park stood up. The evidence is clear. Human pride cannot accept that an alien created superior designs first. The room erupted in heated debate. Governor Minho called for order, but tension filled the air. Back in Hannah's office, Ta had been working day and night. While the investigation focused on the designs themselves, he had been digging into Daz's background. You need to see this, he told Hannah when she returned from the hearing. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but excitement filled his voice. On his screen was an old travel record. Dodd Park visited Earth 30 years ago. Hannah leaned closer. Many aliens visit Earth. What's significant about this? Look where he went. Ta pulled up more records. He spent 3 months in Seoul, specifically studying historical architecture. Hannah's heart raced. That's unusual. Most alien visitors go to the major global cities. Exactly. Ta pulled up another document. And look at this. He accessed the National Archives of Korean architecture. He specifically requested materials on traditional building techniques. Ta pulled up more records. I found his access logs. He spent weeks reviewing ancient manuscripts that never made it to the Galactic Archives. Manuscripts containing the very principles he now claims we stole from him. Hannah stared at the screen. The evidence was clear. dates, times, specific document requests, all carefully recorded 30 years ago, when no one thought such information would ever matter. He studied our architectural heritage, she whispered, then adapted it for his own designs. And now he's accusing you of stealing from him, Tai finished. The realization struck Hannah like a physical blow. He's not accusing us of stealing his ideas. He's accusing us of recognizing that he stole ours. She paced the room, mind racing. That's why the designs are so similar. We were drawing from the same source, Korean traditional architecture. But I was honest about my inspiration. He has hidden his. What do we do? Tai asked. Hannah stopped pacing. We need more proof. Access logs aren't enough. We need to compare his early designs from right after his Earth visit with the traditional Korean techniques he studied. That won't be easy, Ta warned. Arcturians guard their design evolution carefully. Then we'll need to be creative. Hannah's determination hardened. Contact Subin. Her sister works in the Galactic Archives. We need to see if they have any records of Dae's early work. As they prepared to leave, Hannah paused. Da must have realized I was using the same Korean principles he had studied. He knew our designs would have similarities. That's why he accused me first, to establish himself as the original creator. A preemptive strike, Tai agreed. Hannah nodded. And we have 8 days left to prove it. 5 days into the investigation, rumors spread through the colony. Workers whispered that New Olympus would be dismantled. Investors began pulling their money. Public opinion was turning against Hannah. In her lab deep beneath the main dome, Hannah hadn't slept in 2 days. She worked feverishly with Subin and their engineering team. They weren't just fighting for her reputation now. The entire future of human expansion on Mars hung in the balance. It's ready, Subin announced late that night. The older engineer stepped back from the complex modeling system they had built. If this doesn't convince them, nothing will. Hannah studied the simulation. It was risky revealing this aspect of New Olympus so soon. She had planned to introduce the adaptive systems gradually, once colonists felt secure. Humans feared change, even while being masters of adaptation. Send a message to Jaehan, Hannah decided. Request an emergency hearing with the full council tomorrow. When morning came, the council chamber was packed. News of a major revelation had spread quickly. Dodd Park sat in the front row, his blue skin flushed with darker spots, the Arcturian sign of confidence. Jaehan called the hearing to order. Ms. Kim has requested this session to present new evidence. The council recognizes Hannah Kim. Hannah walked to the center of the chamber. She wore a simple black suit, her hair tied back. She carried no notes or displays. Thank you for coming, she began. What I'm about to show you has been kept confidential until now. It represents the true innovation of New Olympus. She pressed a small device on her wrist. The lights dimmed, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed New Olympus as it currently existed, the gleaming domes, support structures, and living quarters that made up the colony. This is New Olympus as you know it today, she said. Then she pressed another button. And this is New Olympus 5 years from now. The hologram began to change, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. Support beams shifted position. Walls thickened in some areas and thinned in others. New passages formed between sections. Living quarters expanded. The entire structure seemed alive, responding to invisible forces. What you're seeing is New Olympus, not as it exists today, but as it will evolve over the next 5 years, she explained. This is no ordinary colony. It is a living, learning structure. Gasps filled the room. Even Jaehan looked surprised. Embedded throughout the colony are millions of nanosensors and adaptive materials, Hannah continued. They monitor stress, usage patterns, and environmental changes. The colony learns from this data and adapts itself to better serve its residents. She zoomed in on a particular section. If this hallway becomes heavily trafficked, it will gradually widen. If a dust storm puts pressure on this wall, Supporting structures will strengthen automatically. The council members whispered among themselves. This was unlike any design they had seen before. This adaptive architecture is something no Arcturian would ever design, Hannah stated confidently. Their philosophy views change as imperfection. But humans evolved on a planet of constant change. Our greatest strength is adaptation. She turned to face Dad directly. This is the true innovation of New Olympus. Not the surface similarities Mr. Park claims I stole, but the fundamental philosophy beneath. Day stood up. His 4 eyes were wide with what appeared to be genuine shock. This is unstable, unpredictable, he said. How can you ensure structural integrity if the building makes its own decisions? The question hung in the air. Many council members nodded. It was a valid concern. Hannah smiled. The same way human civilization has always survived, by establishing principles rather than rigid rules, and trusting the process of evolution. She walked through the hologram, which shimmed around her. The colony doesn't have freedom to do whatever it wants. It operates within carefully designed parameters. It can strengthen but not weaken structures. It can expand paths but not block them. It learns from its environment and improves itself, just as humans have always done. Governor Minho stood up. Is this colony safe? Can you guarantee it won't collapse? It's safer than any static design, Hannah replied. Traditional buildings are strong until they face something their designers didn't anticipate. New Olympus adapts to challenges we can't predict. Jae-hun studied the hologram carefully. This design principle is not present in Mr. Park's work. No, Hannah confirmed. Arcturian architecture is known for its stability and permanence. Their buildings stand unchanged for centuries, beautiful but inflexible. Day remained standing. For once, he seemed at a loss for words. You study our architectural history, Mr. Park, Hannah said quietly. But you missed the most important human lesson. We don't just build to last. We build to grow. The chamber erupted in discussion. Reporters rushed to file stories. Council members debated intensely. Jae-hun called for order. This new evidence requires careful consideration. The investigation will continue, but with this new perspective in mind. As the hearing adjourned, Tai approached Hannah. That was brilliant, he whispered. But will it be enough? Hannah watched Da conferring urgently with his associates. We've shown that our design is fundamentally different from anything he's created. Now we need to prove he was the one who borrowed ideas in the first place. And we have 3 days left to do it, Ta reminded her. Hannah nodded. The fight wasn't over yet. 2 days passed in a blur of activity. While the council debated the significance of New Olympus's adaptive features, Hannah and her team worked around the clock. They had moved from defense to attack. Subin's sister at the Galactic Archives had come through. She provided access codes to historical architectural databases that weren't typically available to the public. With these resources, Ta built a special AI program to analyze patterns across thousands of structures throughout the galaxy. It's scanning now, Ta told Hannah as they watched streams of data flow across multiple screens. The program compared elements of Da's most famous buildings with architectural styles from dozens of worlds. How long will it take? Hannah asked. The full analysis. Days. Ta smiled. But we're already getting preliminary results. He pointed to a series of matching patterns highlighted on the screen. Look at these. Day's famous arched supports on the Centauri embassy. They're almost identical to traditional Eridani water city structures, just scaled up and made from different materials. Hannah leaned closer. And he never credited the Eridani. Never. In fact, in his writings, he claims to have invented the form. As the day progressed, more matches appeared. The AI found similarities between Dao's work and architectural elements from 14 different species. Most troubling were the exact matches with ancient designs from cultures considered primitive by Arcturian standards. He took ideas from everyone. Subin remarked as she reviewed the findings. but he specifically targeted cultures that wouldn't recognize their own contributions or wouldn't be believed if they complained. That night, Hannah requested another hearing. Ji-hun agreed, setting it for the following morning. The council chamber was even more crowded than before. News of a major revelation had spread. Representatives from several alien species had arrived to observe the proceedings. The atmosphere was tense with anticipation. Ta stood before the council, looking nervous but determined. As Hannah's assistant, he rarely took center stage. But this presentation required his technical expertise. Over the past 48 hours, we conducted a comprehensive analysis of Mr. Park's architectural portfolio. Ta began. The large screen behind him displayed their findings. Using pattern-matching algorithms and historical databases, we compared his designs with architectural traditions across the galaxy. He tapped his tablet, and the screen filled with side-by-side comparisons. The results are revealing. The room grew quiet as the evidence appeared on screen. Park has built his reputation by systematically borrowing concepts from cultures he considered beneath notice, Tai explained. He highlighted specific examples. His famous floating terraces, adapted from Eridani water cities. His temperature-responsive facades, derived from Proximan desert dwellings. With each example, the corresponding alien delegates in the audience stirred. Many were seeing the similarities for the first time. His gravity-defying spires on Ta City. Ta continued. They used the same mathematical principles as the ancient tower nests of the avian people of Deneb, a species whose world was destroyed 3 centuries ago. The council members murmured as evidence mounted. Representatives from other species began reviewing their own architectural histories against Day's portfolio on their personal devices. In total, we found 26 distinct architectural elements in Mr. Park's original works that show 90% or greater similarity to pre-existing designs from other cultures. Tai concluded. In none of these cases did Mr. Park acknowledge these influences. Day stood up abruptly. His blue skin had darkened to an almost purple shade, the Arcturian sign of anger or distress. This is absurd, he declared. Taking elements from primitive structures and improving them is not theft. I transformed simple ideas into complex, sophisticated forms. You took concepts without attribution, Tai replied. I synthesized existing concepts into superior forms. Dad protested, his voice rising. That's innovation, not theft. The chamber grew loud with debate. Ji-hun called for order, tapping his gavel repeatedly. When quiet returned, Hannah stood up. All eyes turned to her. Yet when humans do the same, you call it theft, she said calmly. The difference is, we're willing to acknowledge our inspirations. She walked to the center of the room. In my submission to the building committee, I specifically cited Korean Hanok architecture as the foundation for my designs. I named the ancient architects whose work influenced me. I honored their contributions while building something new. An Eridani delegate raised her slender hand. The council should know that my government was denied building rights on 3 worlds because our proposals were deemed too similar to Park's protected designs. Designs that now appear to have been based on our own traditional forms. Similar statements came from other delegates. The atmosphere in the room had shifted dramatically. Dad looked around, suddenly finding himself isolated. This is a human conspiracy, he declared. They've manipulated the data. The analysis methods are available for your own experts to review, Tai offered. Ji-hun studied the evidence on his screen. This is a serious counter-accusation, he said finally. It requires thorough investigation. We're not asking for Mr. Park to be punished, Hannah clarified. We simply want the record to show that human architects, like architects throughout history, build upon what came before, and that this is not theft when done with respect and acknowledgement. As the hearing continued, Tai returned to his seat beside Hannah. Do you think it's enough? He whispered. Hannah watched the council members reviewing the evidence. It's not about winning anymore, she replied. It's about changing how we understand creativity across different cultures. The final decision would come tomorrow. For now, the truth was finally being seen. The hearing stretched into its second week. What had started as a simple accusation had grown into a major galactic incident. Free trade agreements and a joint defense pact now hung in the balance as tensions rose between humans and Arcturians. News networks across the solar system broadcast the proceedings. The case had touched a nerve for many species. Questions of cultural exchange, credit, and innovation were being debated on every world. Governor Minho met with Hannah the night before the final decision. "The council is split," he told her. "Half believe you've proven your case. The other half think this is just humans trying to avoid admitting an alien created superior designs." "And what do you think?" Hannah asked. "I think neither side wins if this continues." He looked tired. "The Arcturians are threatening to withhold terraforming technology. We need that technology to survive on Mars." Hannah didn't sleep that night. She sat in her office, looking out at New Olympus. The colony waited silently for people to fill its halls and rooms, for life to begin. By morning, she had made her decision. The council chamber was filled beyond capacity for the final day. Ji-hun called the session to order with a grim face. Before he could speak, Hannah stood up. "I request permission to address the council before the verdict," she said. Ji-hun nodded. "Granted." Hannah walked to the central podium. The room fell silent. Everyone expected more arguments, more evidence. "I move to withdraw my defense on one condition," she announced to the stunned assembly. Whispers erupted across the room. Dae leaned forward, his 4 eyes narrowed in suspicion. "I propose that we establish the Galactic Architectural Commons," Hannah continued, "a shared repository where design innovations from all species are documented, credited, and made available for further development." The whispers grew louder. This was unexpected. "Architecture doesn't belong to any one species," Hannah explained. "The best designs have always borrowed and built upon what came before. My own work on New Olympus draws from Korean traditions. Mr. Park's work clearly draws from many cultures." She turned to face Da directly. "No species invented architecture in isolation. We all stand on the foundations built by those before us. True innovation comes not from claiming ownership, but from how we transform what we learn." Dae stood up. "You suggest we simply give away our intellectual property. Arcturian firms spend billions on research and development. And you would still be credited as creators," Hannah responded. "But the basic principles would be shared, just as they have always been shared, though often without acknowledgement." The council debated for hours. Species representatives argued passionately on both sides. Older, established architects opposed the idea. Younger designers embraced it enthusiastically. When the council finally voted, the Galactic Architectural Commons was approved by a narrow margin. The case against Hannah was dismissed, and New Olympus was cleared to open. Outside the chamber, reporters surrounded Hannah. "Was this your plan all along?" one asked. "No," she admitted, "but sometimes conflict shows us a better path forward." As the crowd dispersed, Hannah found herself face to face with Da Park. For a moment, they stood in awkward silence. "Your adaptive architecture," Da said finally. "It is truly original. I have never seen anything like it." "Thank you," Hannah replied. "Your work has inspired many, including me, though perhaps not in the way you intended." "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we build something better. Together." 6 months later, the Galactic Architectural Commons opened its virtual doors. To everyone's surprise, Da Park had agreed to serve as head of its historical documentation division. Hannah led the organization as its first director. Their first collaborative project was a floating emergency habitat for Venus's upper atmosphere. The design combined Arcturian stability with human adaptability. It solved engineering challenges that had stymied designers for decades. The day the habitat launched successfully, Hannah and Da watched from the observation deck. I would never have considered allowing a structure to evolve on its own, Dai admitted. In our culture, change is seen as decay, and humans sometimes change too quickly, without respecting what came before, Hannah replied. We needed both perspectives. New Olympus opened to its first residents that same month. As people moved in, the colony began its subtle transformations, learning from how spaces were used, strengthening where needed, expanding where beneficial. Visitors came from across the galaxy to see this living colony. Many were skeptical at first, but most left impressed by how seamlessly the adaptive features worked. 1 year after the hearing, Hannah stood in the central plaza of New Olympus. The space had already changed from her original design. It was better now, shaped by the needs of its inhabitants. A group of young architects, human, Arcturian, and 3 other species, gathered around her. What's the most important lesson in architecture? One student asked. Hannah smiled. That we are stronger together than apart. That the free flow of ideas benefits everyone. And that the most beautiful structures are those that can grow and change while staying true to their core principles. As New Olympus continued to evolve and flourish, it became more than just a Martian colony. It stood as living proof that humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization wasn't technological superiority or military might, but our fundamental understanding that growth requires change. Strength comes from adaptation, and true innovation flourishes when knowledge flows freely. The end.